Imagine walking into a hearing that determines the rest of your life. You have followed every rule, completed every rehabilitation program, and kept your record clean for decades. You sit down, expecting the system to work as designed. But within minutes, you are denied. Not because you are dangerous, and not because you haven't changed, but because of a black box algorithm that seems designed to keep you inside. This isn't a hypothetical scenario. This is the reality of the Tennessee Parole Board in 2024. In our last investigation, we uncover where your tax dollars go regarding the state's $1.4 billion prison budget. But today, we are asking a darker question. Why is that money being spent? New data reveals that parole grant rates have plummeted to just 22.3%. That means nearly 8 out of 10 people who walk into that room are sent back to their cells. We are investigating a system where nonviolent offenders are seemingly warehoused for profit, while the decision-making process remains hidden behind a veil of secrecy. Welcome to the Tennessee parole scandal. Hi everyone, welcome back. If you watched our previous deep dive into Tennessee's prison spending, you know that the financials of incarceration are messy. But money is only half the story. The other half is policy, specifically how the state decides who gets to leave. There is a growing perception among legal experts and families of the incarcerated that the Tennessee Board of Parole has effectively stopped functioning as a release mechanism and has instead become a resentencing court. We are seeing a disturbing trend where individuals who have served their minimum time and pose low statistical risk are being denied release, while the system struggles to manage overcrowding. In this video, we are going to crack open the data from the 2023 to 2024 fiscal year. We will look at the seriousness of offense loophole, the political battles like House Bill 527, and the uncomfortable reality of private prison incentives. Is the goal public safety, or is it maintaining an occupancy rate? Let's look at the evidence. To understand the magnitude of this issue, we have to look at the raw numbers. According to a 2024 analysis by the Tennessee Bar Association, the parole grant rate has dropped significantly. In the 2023 to 2024 fiscal year, the board granted parole in only roughly 22.3% of hearings. Let that sink in, a 22% pass rate. If a university failed 78% of its students, we would investigate the teachers. Here, we simply build more cells. But the data shows something even more specific. Since 2019, there's been a clear trend toward longer incarcerations and fewer hearings overall. The board isn't just saying no more often. The entire pipeline is slowing down. So what is the justification? When the board denies parole, they must provide a reason. The most common and most controversial reason is something called seriousness of the offense. This is the catch-all. It allows the board to deny release not based on who the inmate is today or their risk of reoffending tomorrow, but based solely on the crime they committed 10 or 20 years ago. This creates a paradox. By definition, the seriousness of the offense creates a static factor. It can never change. No matter how many classes an inmate takes or how much they reform, they cannot change the past. If the board uses this justification repeatedly, they are essentially saying that the original sentence given by the judge wasn't long enough, and they are unilaterally extending it. This turns the parole board into a secondary sentencing court, something it was never designed to be. This leads us to a comparison that infuriates the public: the disparity between violent and nonviolent outcomes. While widely reported cases of outrageous releases of violent offenders are statistically rare in the current climate, the injustice lies in the retention of the nonviolent or rehabilitated. We are seeing a system paralyzed by risk aversion. The board faces immense political pressure. If they release one person who commits a crime, it's front-page news. If they keep 10,000 rehabilitated people locked up unnecessarily, it's just a statistic. Consequently, we see nonviolent offenders, people in for drug charges, property crimes, or technical parole violations, stuck in limbo. These are inmates who, by the Department of Corrections' own risk assessment tools, score as low risk. Yet, they remain incarcerated. Why? Because the seriousness of offense loophole allows the board to ignore the risk assessment. You could have a low-risk inmate who has served 15 years for a robbery where no one was physically hurt, being denied year after year. Meanwhile, the system is so overcrowded that county jails are bursting, creating a dangerous environment that actually breeds more violence. It's a broken feedback loop. By refusing to release those who are ready, the state creates management chaos inside the prisons. This chaos makes it harder for anyone to rehabilitate, which justifies further denials. It is a self-fulfilling prophecy of failure, when a metric for success isn't how many people did we fix, but how many people did we keep. Now, we have to address the elephant in the room, the money. You cannot talk about Tennessee corrections without talking about the private prison industry. Tennessee has a massive contract with Civic, a private prison giant. In our previous video, we tracked the $1.4 billion flowing through the system. A significant portion of that goes to paying per diem rates for inmates housed in private facilities. Here is the uncomfortable economic reality. Private prisons operate on an occupancy model, similar to a hotel. If a hotel is empty, it loses money. If a prison is empty, the corporation loses revenue. There is a perverse financial incentive to keep beds filled. This is often referred to cynically as beds for bucks. When the parole board denies release to 78% of applicants, they are ensuring that those beds stay full. Now, to be clear, the parole board members are appointed officials, not core civic employees. However, the political ecosystem of Tennessee is heavily intertwined with the private prison lobby. When the state budget relies on a private partner to manage a huge percentage of its inmate population, the state is contractually obligated to maintain certain population levels or pay penalties in some contracts. A mass release of nonviolent offenders, even if it is the right thing to do for justice, would be a financial disaster for the private operators. We have to ask, is the 22% grant rate purely a matter of public safety? Or is it a symptom of a system that requires a steady supply of bodies to keep the $1.4 billion machine running? When you look at the denial of low-risk, nonviolent inmates, the financial motive is the only variable that logically explains a refusal to let them go. The tension regarding these decisions recently spilled over into the legislature. We saw this with House Bill 527 regarding the 2025 to 2026 legislative session. This bill sought to explicitly empower the board to deny parole for any offense solely due to the seriousness of the offense. Essentially, the legislature wanted to codify the loophole we discussed earlier, making it even easier to deny parole. It was a move driven by tough-on-crime optics. However, in a surprising turn, Governor Bill Lee vetoed the bill. This veto highlights a fascinating internal conflict. On one hand, you have political pressure to keep everyone locked up to look tough to voters. On the other hand, the executive branch knows that you literally cannot afford to keep everyone in prison forever. The veto wasn't necessarily a bleeding-heart humanitarian gesture. It was likely a recognition that if you make it legally impossible to parole people, the prison system will collapse under its own weight. It shows that even the government is struggling to balance the optics of safety with the reality of logistics. So what is the verdict? Is the Tennessee Parole Board protecting the public, or is it protecting a business model? The evidence points to a system in crisis. With a 78% denial rate, a reliance on subjective criteria like seriousness of offense, and $1 billion financial incentive to maintain high occupancy, the deck is stacked against release. We are seeing a system that prioritizes the appearance of safety over the reality of rehabilitation. Nonviolent inmates are being kept in expensive, overcrowding conditions not because they are dangerous, but because the system is too risk-averse to release them and too financially entangled to let them go. This is an investigation that is ongoing. We want to hear from you. Do you think the parole board should be able to deny release based on a crime committed 20 years ago, even if the inmate is rehabilitated? Or is this just a way to keep the private prisons profitable? Leave your thoughts in the comments below. If you found this breakdown helpful, please hit the like button and subscribe. It helps us fund the research to keep digging into these records. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next investigation. Welcome to the Inner Circle. This isn't just a membership, it's a mission. You're supporting forensic truth, mythic blends, and ceremonial broadcasts that honor every moment. Members unlock exclusive enhancements, behind-the-scenes alerts, and direct access to the pulse of Scape news and leading sponsor, Gold Rush Fever Specialty Coffee. Join us and help shape the signal. We thank you, and as always, stay safe. That's the latest from Scape news. We're live. We're watching. We thank you. Subscribe, like, share, and ring the bell so you don't miss what breaks next. Stay with us. We appreciate you, and as always, be safe.